On a warm summer evening in the bustling heart of New Orleans, the savory aroma of Cajun spices wafted through the air of the busy restaurant kitchen. Marcus Gaines, a skilled black chef known for his signature gumbo and infectious laughter, stood at the stove, his hands moving with practiced precision. He had worked tirelessly to get to this point, building a reputation as one of the most promising chefs in the city. But that night would change everything. The head chef, a man known for his condescending demeanor and thinly veiled racism, approached Marcus with a sneer. "You're done here," he spat, his voice laced with malice. "Pack your knives and go." The accusation? Nothing substantial, just a fabricated excuse to rid the restaurant of a chef who dared to rise too high. Marcus stood there, stunned. The kitchen fell silent, the clatter of pots and pans fading into an eerie stillness. His heart raced as humiliation washed over him. He had poured his soul into this place, only to be cast aside because of prejudice. As he walked out of the restaurant, the weight of the injustice bore down on him. But deep within, a spark of defiance ignited. This wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning. Marcus's journey would take him from the depths of despair to the heights of triumph. His story would become a powerful testament to resilience, courage, and the ability to turn adversity into victory. In the sections that follow, we will explore the challenges Marcus faced, the discoveries he made along the way, and the transformation that led him to reclaim his dignity and more. After being fired, Marcus found himself standing on a dimly lit street outside the restaurant that had once felt like home. The chef's coat he wore, once a symbol of pride, now felt heavy with shame. He replayed the head chef's words in his mind, grappling with disbelief. The culinary world was already tough for black chefs, but Marcus had believed his talent would shield him from discrimination. Unfortunately, the ugly reality of racism had proven otherwise. Over the next few weeks, Marcus struggled to find work. Word spread quickly in the tightly knit culinary community, and it seemed that his former boss had blacklisted him. Every job interview ended in polite rejections, and the bills on his kitchen counter piled up. At home, Marcus sat with his wife, Denise, who had always been his biggest supporter. "You can't let this break you," she said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "You're too good to let one bitter man define your future." But the sting of rejection wore on him. Nights were sleepless, filled with doubt. Had he made the wrong choice pursuing his dream? Would anyone ever give him another chance? One night, while scrolling through job listings on his phone, Marcus stumbled upon a blog post written by another black chef who had faced similar discrimination. The chef had shared his journey of overcoming adversity by starting a pop-up food business. Inspired by the story, Marcus began to research the concept. The more he read, the more determined he became. He would stop waiting for doors to open. He would build his own. Still, there were obstacles ahead. To start a food venture, Marcus needed capital, a location, and most importantly, the confidence to put himself back out there. But he was willing to fight. Driven by a newfound resolve, Marcus made a list of ideas for a pop-up kitchen that celebrated his Southern roots and cultural heritage. He envisioned a menu that combined traditional recipes with his own creative flair. The first hurdle was finding a space. Most venues required hefty rental fees, which Marcus couldn't afford. Frustration mounted, but just as he began to doubt himself again, a friend from culinary school, Carlos, reached out. "I heard what happened," Carlos said. "That was messed up. But listen, I know a guy who owns a food truck. He might be willing to rent it out to you on weekends." It wasn't a glamorous solution, but it was a start. Marcus met with the truck owner, negotiated a fair deal, and secured the vehicle for his first pop-up event. The night before the launch, Marcus stood in his tiny kitchen, preparing batches of his signature gumbo and fried catfish sandwiches. Denise joined him, chopping vegetables with precision. "You ready for this?" she asked, handing him a bowl of freshly diced onions. "More than ready," he said, a flicker of hope returning to his eyes. Despite the setbacks, Marcus was on the brink of something new. The next step in his journey was about to unfold, and it would be a turning point he never expected. The morning of Marcus's first pop-up event was filled with nervous anticipation. The rented food truck gleamed in the early sunlight, parked in a bustling lot downtown. Denise helped set up while Marcus arranged trays of freshly prepared gumbo, fried catfish sandwiches, and sweet cornbread muffins. "You've got this," Denise reassured him, squeezing his hand. As lunchtime approached, the scent of spices wafted through the air, drawing curious passers-by. One by one, customers began to line up. Marcus's heart raced as he ladled out steaming bowls of gumbo and handed over golden, crispy sandwiches. "Man, this is incredible," said a customer after taking a bite. "Where have you been hiding?" The positive feedback poured in, and by the end of the day, Marcus had sold out of everything. Exhausted but exhilarated, he leaned against the side of the truck, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. "This is just the beginning," Denise said, her eyes gleaming with pride. Buoyed by the success of the first event, Marcus began hosting regular pop-ups, each one drawing larger crowds. Word spread quickly, and soon, local food bloggers and influencers were raving about his dishes. But as Marcus's popularity grew, so did the attention from his former employer. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Marcus saw a post from the restaurant that had fired him. They had launched a campaign promoting authentic Southern cuisine, eerily similar to his own menu. "They're stealing your ideas," Denise said, her voice tight with anger. Marcus's initial reaction was frustration, but then something clicked. He decided it was time to dig deeper into the restaurant's practices and expose the toxic environment he had endured. He reached out to former colleagues, many of whom had left the restaurant under similarly troubling circumstances. One by one, they shared stories of mistreatment and discrimination. Marcus compiled their testimonials, painting a damning picture of the restaurant's culture. Meanwhile, a local journalist caught wind of Marcus's journey and reached out for an interview. Sitting across from the reporter in his modest kitchen, Marcus recounted his experience, the unjust firing, the struggle to rebuild, and the triumph of his pop-up events. "You're not just telling your story," the reporter said. "You're shedding light on a bigger issue in the culinary world." The article, published a week later, went viral. Titled "Rising from the Ashes: How a Black Chef Turned Injustice into Triumph," it sparked widespread outrage against the restaurant and garnered overwhelming support for Marcus. Messages poured in from people across the country, sharing their own stories of resilience and discrimination. Marcus realized that his journey was no longer just about personal redemption. It was about inspiring change. As his story gained momentum, Marcus received a call from a prominent investor who had been moved by his journey. "I believe in your vision," the investor said. "Let's talk about opening a permanent restaurant." Marcus's heart raced. The dream he had once thought impossible was now within reach. The opportunity to open a permanent restaurant felt surreal to Marcus. After countless setbacks and sleepless nights, his dream was finally within reach. The investor, Mr. Patterson, was a respected entrepreneur with a history of supporting minority-owned businesses. "We'll find the perfect space and build something that reflects your story," he promised during their first meeting. Over the next few months, Marcus poured his heart and soul into every detail of the restaurant. The space, located in a vibrant neighborhood known for its eclectic dining scene, was transformed into a warm, inviting haven that celebrated Southern culture. Rustic wooden tables, vintage photographs, and vibrant murals created an atmosphere that felt like home. The menu was a love letter to Marcus's roots, featuring dishes like smoked brisket, shrimp and grits, and his signature gumbo. But more than just food, the restaurant embodied a message: resilience, community, and pride in one's heritage. Opening night arrived, and the restaurant was packed with supporters, friends, and food critics eager to experience Marcus's culinary creations. Denise stood by his side, beaming with pride. "You did it," she whispered. As the night unfolded, Marcus moved through the kitchen with confidence, orchestrating the team like a symphony conductor. Plates of beautifully crafted dishes flowed out to tables, each bite telling a story of struggle and triumph. The reviews were overwhelmingly positive. Critics praised not only the food but the heart and authenticity behind every dish. The restaurant became a symbol of hope and change in the community. But the transformation didn't stop there. Marcus's success sparked conversations about diversity and inclusivity in the culinary world. Other chefs who had faced similar challenges began sharing their stories, and a movement for change gained momentum. One evening, Marcus received a call from a young aspiring chef. "I read your story," the voice on the other end said. "It made me believe I could make it too." Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. This was bigger than just a restaurant. It was about breaking down barriers and creating opportunities for the next generation. To give back, Marcus launched a mentorship program for young chefs from underrepresented backgrounds. The program provided training, resources, and support to help them navigate the industry and succeed on their own terms. Through hard work and determination, Marcus had not only reclaimed his dignity but had become a beacon of hope for others. As he stood in the bustling dining room one evening, watching customers laugh and share meals, Marcus felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been difficult, but every struggle had led him to this moment. "This is just the beginning," Denise said, smiling at him. Marcus nodded. "And we're just getting started." Years had passed since the night Marcus opened the doors to his now-renowned restaurant, Gaines Southern Kitchen. What had started as a desperate attempt to rebuild his life had blossomed into a thriving establishment beloved by locals and food enthusiasts alike. The walls of the restaurant told a story: photographs of Marcus with his team, newspaper clippings highlighting his journey, and awards recognizing his culinary achievements. But the most meaningful part of his success wasn't the accolades. It was the lives he had touched. The mentorship program Marcus had launched had grown into a fully funded culinary training institute. Young chefs from diverse backgrounds came through its doors, learning not only the art of cooking but the value of resilience and authenticity. Many of them had gone on to open their own restaurants, creating a ripple effect of positive change in the industry. One evening, as Marcus sat in a quiet corner of the restaurant, a familiar voice broke his thoughts. "You've built something incredible here." It was Carlos, the friend who had connected him with the food truck all those years ago. "I couldn't have done it without you," Marcus said, shaking his hand. Carlos laughed. "Nah, man. You always had it in you." Their conversation was interrupted by a young chef approaching the table nervously. "Chef Gaines." Marcus smiled warmly. "That's me. What can I do for you?" "I just wanted to say thank you. I graduated from your program last year, and I'm opening my own place next month. You inspired me to chase my dreams." Marcus's heart swelled with pride. "Congratulations. That's amazing. If you ever need advice, you know where to find me." As the young chef walked away, Marcus reflected on how far he had come. What had once been a painful chapter in his life had transformed into a powerful story of triumph and purpose. Looking back, Marcus realized that being fired from that restaurant had been a blessing in disguise. It had forced him to carve his own path, one that was richer and more meaningful than anything he could have imagined. He had turned injustice into opportunity, failure into success, and doubt into determination. And through it all, he had never lost sight of who he was or where he came from. The restaurant door opened, and Denise walked in, her smile as radiant as ever. "Ready to head home?" she asked. Marcus stood, taking one last look around the dining room filled with laughter and joy. "Yeah," he said with a contented sigh. "Let's go." As they walked out into the cool night air, Marcus felt a profound sense of gratitude. His journey had been one of struggle and redemption, but it was far from over. There were still stories to tell, meals to create, and lives to inspire. And Marcus Gaines was ready for whatever came next.